Sutras 29, 30, 31. What is the result of this sadhana? As we keep on doing the sadhana, rather than thinking anything else all the time, when the mind is not doing work, when it is not doing its duties and responsibilities, and you need to engage the mind in a type of thinking, at other times we can reflect on the sound. We can reflect on the sound, and we sometimes can also bring a symbol associated with the sound so that the mind is kept steady. It doesn't move away from its steadiness, it's all the time steady. So then you'll find that the growth is continuous, at all times is growing and aware and then expanding in its potential. So the potential of the mind can be explored in a laser-like process. But if it is like a torch-like process where the light is there but it is so weak, how is it going to expand? What potential can we see? It can be that one day you wake up, you are 65 years old, and then you think, hey, it has always been like this, dissipated. But if we can put our mind into the practice, into the sadhana, then within 1 or 2 years, within 8-10 months, you see so much of development taking place. And it makes you happy. Let's not talk about the world being happy. You happy, you are aware, and you structure and improve the quality of your own life, then the quality of everyone else becomes better. From that practice, even Kriya, Pranayama, Asanas, Japa, from that practice, the consciousness turns inwards. Due to the result of the practice, the mind turns inwards, and you are able to handle the mind better. You are able to dissolve those thoughts which are unnecessary and keep the mind in a state of poise, calmness, steadiness, which is a very conducive environment for creativity to expand. When creativity expands and you are able to turn your mind inwards, definitely lots of joy can be felt inside. Patanjali says, obstacles can be overcome. When your mind is calm and steady, so many things which people consider as impossible, cannot be done, can be overcome. And then people say, oh, a miracle happened in your life. But the person says, no, I just allowed my mind to turn inwards and I felt the joy and that supported me. And that you call as miracle, I call as sadhana. So what obstacles are overcome? Now, all of these obstacles, which says obstacles in the path of yoga, you will find are also obstacles in the path of life. All of these mentioned here are also obstacles not in yoga only, but generally in life. Let's look at that. Disease is an obstacle in life. If one is not well, and it feels very difficult to live. But what I want you to think about very carefully is that what caused the disease? Most of the time, we blame the environment, we blame the food, or we blame our parents. We need to realize that it is not caused by another person, it is my own self. If I don't take care of myself, if I don't take care of my mind, I allow stress to accumulate. I understand, oh, it was caused by my neglect. Now I practice awareness. I fine-tune the way I live. Then I can find the solution. Wrong action creates that pain. Right action dissolves the pain. So that is about disease. Dullness. Dullness is, in yoga, is called tamas. Tamas is sleepy, procrastination. Individuals who say, I will do it tomorrow. When you ask them tomorrow, I say tomorrow, right? That is also an obstacle, not only in yoga, but in life itself. And then doubt, all the time doubtful. Shall I practice Bhava Muktasana first or Surya Namaskar? I have this doubt. How many years been practicing? 20 years. So you have the question, you ask, you solve it immediately, you don't postpone. Many things are not happening in our life because we are postponing doing things which are good and beneficial to us because of so many doubts in our life. Why not do it? How do scientists approach a matter? He will say, I will do it to prove my doubts are right. He is doing it. And while he is performing the experiments, then his doubt starts to clear. Oh my, now I start to see what is happening. Now my doubts are clear. I believe because the experiments show beyond doubt. But only way he was able to clear it was because he took action. Procrastination I have already spoken about yesterday. And laziness. Dullness and laziness is two different things. Sometimes people are not lazy, they are doing things but just dull to start the action. Laziness is not even starting. Don't talk about that. Just not starting. Just lying down. Many hours lying down. And then craving. Craving to eat sweet things, craving to eat junk food needs to be contained. Just craving for sex, craving for some material objects, craving to smoke, craving to abuse oneself or abuse others, craving. All this is very dangerous and it is part of an error. The next one. It's a lot of error in the perception. Philosophers have spoken about this, scientists have spoken about this, errors in perception. That is why you have this science of cognitive distortion, where the mind, in many different angles, has a distorted view of things. Sometimes it looks at a small thing and then expands it to a big thing, making a mountain out of a mole. This is what philosophy has spoken about. But cognitive distortion, also where some scientists have spoken about and expanded those theories to a bigger scale. And by understanding that, one is able to dissolve the error in one's perception. Perception, I spoke about perception, how we look at things, how we perceive. Essentially, it has to be a very clear state of consciousness. Inability to achieve finer stages. I believe very strongly that we can only achieve the finer stages in our lives to improve the quality of our lives if the mind is able to concentrate. This is what Patanjali says, the definition of yoga is dissolving the thoughts. Our greatest obstacle, all of this, is when we allow thoughts to form and overwhelm. Just occasionally, a few times a day, say that I'm not going to think anything. Just allow the breath to arise and disappear, and then just be aware of those moments. Then we will be able to reach the finer stages. The finer stages in asanas. You can experiment. The only way the asanas become deep is when the thoughts dissolve. When the thoughts dissolve, you are able to go so deep into the asana. It becomes almost like a meditation. So much of clarity. When the kumbhaka happens naturally, only when the mind has dissolved its thoughts. Instability is another thing. Once we have made a good decision, then we remain stable. So here instability could be during asanas, and I mentioned just now in many of the asanas that instability is part of the learning process. You understand, but the moment you are aware of the instability, the next moment we are able to remain stable for a longer period of time. Alright? The moment we are aware of the instability, it disappears and we are able to stabilize ourselves. So life itself is like this. Once we have made a good decision, then we can remain stable. If it is not a good decision, then we will do a process of introspection. The highest quality of life can be achieved when we overcome these obstacles. And then he continues with the next 31. Other obstructions. Pain definitely is a big obstacle. Are we talking about physical pain or talking about mental or emotional pain? Talking about all. What he's saying here is, if there is pain, find solutions. Sometimes there are no solutions to the physical aspect. So we find solution in the emotional and the intellectual process. If someone's leg has been amputated due to diabetes or whatever, do you think there's a solution? Can the leg grow? Can the leg grow back? When you say, okay, now the lizard can grow back its tail, I think I can. So what we do is, there is no leg, alright? And then you find solution to your emotion. Find the emotional balance. Number one. Number two, depression. Number one disease in this world is not cancer, suicide. All that is number two. Suicide is number two, cancer is number three. Number one is depression. And 2,500 years ago, Patanjali wrote about it, which means this is not a new thing. It has been happening for as long as humanity was able to find an intellectual understanding. Maybe before the intellectual understanding, I don't think none of this was a big concept. There was a time when humanity lived instinctively, intuitively. I believe that none of these issues were dominating those generations. But right now, as we expand our intellectual pursuits and understanding, we also seem to be affected by so many other things. And number one is depression. Small thing happened, I am depressed. It became like a favorite word. Didn't do your homework, a bit depressed. Didn't do yoga practice, a bit depressed. You should do. Just do it. Right. So it has become a habit. So this is kind of an hypnotism. Some words we must delete from our mental vocabulary. And these are the words we will need to delete from our mental vocabulary. Words like boring. Many people like to use the word boring. Please stop using it, because it's a reflection of our own quality. The moment I say it is a boring day, it's a reflection of our own psychology. It cannot be external. It is coming from inside. So you please delete it. If you have been using it, it is time. It's a good day. It's an auspicious day to delete this word. Also, the word I'm depressed, I don't feel good, dissolve it. Shaking of the body. This is very purely yoga. Very purely yoga. When we do asanas, when we do pranayama, we need to work on steadiness. To keep the body steady, not shaking. Sthiram. Sthiram or sthiram. Steadiness. Unrhythmic breathing is also another form of mental distraction. So we will need to structure the breath, right? And just by slowing down the breath. The breath is slowed down, and it creates this very conducive process of the breath almost disappearing, slowing down, and pausing for a long time. A corresponding change takes place in the consciousness. The mind becomes conducive. The environment in the mind becomes conducive to practice higher technology, meditation, prayer, or just to enjoy that moment. When we manage the breath, those moments become beautiful. Everything around you feels amplified. Everything good around you feels amplified. Those things which are not good can be dissolved. This is a very important component of how we manage our life. We cannot just simply say everything becomes amplified. This is a very strong kind of fanatical remark. Everything. The moment we say everything, I mean good and bad. Everything good becomes amplified. Not so good, we are able to dissolve. So that then mental distraction does not take place. Now I've been speaking about 20 minutes. Was your mind completely aware of whatever I was speaking of? Or was it distracted by other things? Body movements, scratching, moving the toes, thinking about breakfast. None of this is bad, it's not bad. The only thing is that how the mind is being trained, how we are able to cope, how the awareness. I have some students who I have trained from a very young age. There's one boy who came to my class when he was 4 or 5 years old. Now I think he's about 16, 17 years old, doing very well in school. And does all his work by morning, finish. All his homework, assignments, everything done. Super focused in class, don't have to repeat again and again. And then scoring all A's. And you know what is happening? He's enjoying his life. He said, I can play my football, I can go for this, I can go for swimming, I can spend so much of time with my family. Because only one thing he has refined one thing perfectly. Super concentration. And I asked him, hey, now I've been speaking to you for 15 minutes, you are coming for class. What did I say? He can almost say everything verbatim, everything from 1 to Z. Oh, such a beautiful quality, isn't it? The one important quality of our life, apart from the yama and niyama, is the ability to super focus. No thoughts in the mind during that activity. Beautiful growth takes place. The quality of life in everything. As a mother handling her children, as a brother or sister being an example to another sibling, as a boss of an organization, whatever that you are doing, if this is done, it brings so much of beautiful experience. Have you gone to a bank and the teller who is just focused on yourself, saying good morning and then smiling and then doing the work and entertaining, makes you feel so good? Another person is in distraction, so many thoughts in his or her mind, discussing, ya, selamat tengah hari. I don't know tengah hari or pagi, this is at morning. So distracted, because you can see, what is that? So many different thoughts here, and then here a person who has so much of clarity. You ask them, how is your mind so clear and all that? Oh, I did my prayers in the morning, I did my yoga. Namaskar, thank you very much.